Manhunt. Manhunt is a stealth-based survival horror game by Rockstar Games North. The game was originally released in November of 2003 for the PlayStation 2, and later released in April of 2004 for Microsoft Xbox. But Manhunt wasn't released without its grand share of controversy, due to the realistic depiction of gruesome murder that the game centered around. Manhunt follows death row inmate James Earl Cash, who has been sentenced to death, but come to find out Cash was only given a heavy sedative, and he wakes up to find out he's still alive. A man by the name of Lionel Starkweather has paid off Carcer City Police Chief Gary Schaefer in order to grant Cash's reprieve. Starkweather then forces Cash to participate in a series of snuff films known as Manhunts, where Cash must earn his freedom by murdering criminal gang members who are sent to hunt him down and kill him on camera. Upon release, Manhunt was the center of controversy due to the game's realistic violence, which caused the game to be banned in many countries around the world, and was implicated in a murder by the UK media, although this accusation was later dropped by police and the courts. Manhunt takes place in a fictional city known as Carcer City. It's a run-down Rust Belt city believed to be located in the middle northeast United States, although that is never clarified.
Had an unexpected reprieve. Do exactly as I say, and I promise this will be over before the night is out.
Throughout the game, Cash is forced to murder criminal gang members who are hunting him for sport. He must kill or be killed. He must murder to survive. There are various gangs such as the Hoods, who consist of local thugs, off-duty police, and considered to be the weakest gang, which is why they were used in the early tutorial levels of the game. The Skins are another gang that Cash will deal with. The Skins are known to be a group of white supremacist, neo-Nazi skinheads who appear in two scenes in the game, White Trash and Fueled by Hate. The War Dogs are a gang of sadistic paramilitary hunters composed of war veterans, survivalists, and soldiers for hire. They appear in three scenes: Grounds for Assault, Strapped for Cash, and Divided They Fall. Smileys are a group of mentally disturbed inmates of the Darkwood Penitentiary. After Cash's execution was faked, they broke loose and took over the asylum. They appear in three scenes: Mouth of Madness, Doing Time, and Kill the Rabbit. The Innocents are a viciously armed gang from East Los Abos. They consist of Satanists, serial killers, and pedophiles. They appear in three scenes: View of Innocence, Drunk Driving, and Graveyard Shift.
You're on your own. It's up to you. Okay, are you ready? Camera, action.
Before you know it, you're thrown into the first level of the game, also referred to as Scenes. This one is called Born Again, which acts as a sort of tutorial level for the player to get accustomed to the controls and the game mechanics.
Snuff him out. I'll be frank with you. We set that jump up to see if you had what it takes to be our leading man. A little audition, if you will.
As you can see, this game is brutal. Starkweather is encouraging Cash to kill in the most vicious and brutal ways, for sake of entertainment. Starkweather acts as the director of these snuff films, and he plans to make Cash his next big star. When Cash is in the shadows, he is virtually invisible to the enemies. The game centers around stealth mechanics in order to survive. Cash can fight, but is usually the last resort. This is due to the fact that the game not only has very clunky fight controls, but Cash is usually outnumbered by gang members, making it impossible.
We're getting some great material here. Keep going. Make some noise. Hit something. That should get his attention.
When Cash sneaks up on enemies, noise is a factor. If Cash is too loud, he will alert the enemies and he will be pursued. But when Cash can successfully sneak up with a weapon ready, he can perform a stealthy execution-style murder with various weapons and objects, such as glass shards, plastic bags, baseball bats, machetes, knives, hammers, sickle, and many more. When performing an execution, they vary in viciousness, depending on how long the player holds down the button. Cash can perform a hasty, which that's probably the quickest way of doing it. Then there's a violent execution, and this is when the arrow turns yellow. Then there is a gruesome execution, which is when the arrow turns red.
Let's give Mr. Starkweather a show to remember. Move it!
Following various scenes in the game, Starkweather will have Cash ambushed by his private security team known as the Cerberus, who will ambush Cash and transport him to the next locations.
We haven't quite wrapped this gig up, but hey, you're having fun, right? There's a double gate that leads on through to our next location. Find it.
Some of the execution animations are very realistic, even for the time, which is why Manhunt received the backlash it did upon release. At the end of each level, the player is given a summary of your performance. During the scene, the player is given a star ranking ranging from 1 star to 5 stars based on how vicious the kills are during the scene. The more gruesome the kills, the more stars you'll receive, which will unlock bonus content.
It just ain't sitting right.
These skins are boring me, dumbass Supremacist bastards. Always blaming others for their inadequacies. Butcher them, Cash. Cut them up. Beat them down and choke the fucking life out of them.
By the time Cash has made his way through the first couple tutorial scenes, Starkweather will become bored with his hunters, particularly the Skins gang. He antagonizes Cash to finish them off so he can get Cash to a different location. Starkweather, voiced by actor Brian Cox, is the director of these snuff films. He will instruct Cash through most of the game, although Starkweather isn't truly the game's main antagonist. The game's main antagonist isn't even in the game, but rather referenced in the game's lore and promotional media. The character goes by the alias of Mr. Nasty, and he is the producer and financial backing for these snuff films, and the Variant Video Enterprises company that distributes these sick films for what sick fucking audience finds these films sexually satisfying. It's dark, I know, but that's just how fucked up this game is. Most of the game's early levels center around Starkweather simply obtaining film from the horrendous violence that is taking place. Most of the early levels simply require Cash to get through a particular location from point A to point B while taking out the hunters in the most brutal fashion possible. Although, later on, Starkweather will have Cash fetch particular items in order to complete certain objectives. Now, Cash is no hero, nor is he a good guy, so to speak. Cash is a death row inmate who was going to be executed for murder. So in other words, there are no good guys in this game, and the player isn't supposed to relate or connect with Cash. Cash is simply participating in order to obtain his freedom by any means necessary. At various points throughout the game, in between levels, there will be a cutscene in which Starkweather's Cerberus private security team can be seen feeding a strange humanoid creature in the attic of Starkweather's estate. This character is known as Pigsy, and he was the previous star of Starkweather's snuff films. However, Pigsy becomes detached from reality, probably due to all the murder he has committed on screen, and at some point become uncontrollable for Starkweather and his crew to continue using Pigsy in his films. Starkweather seemingly keeps Pigsy captive in the attic of his estate. Also, in many cutscenes to this point, the player will see a muscular, one-eyed Hispanic man named Ramirez, who is the secondary antagonist in the game and is the leader of the War Dogs. Ramirez can be seen giving out orders to various gangs before the start of the scene. He is seemingly Starkweather's right-hand man, and is also believed that Ramirez too has starred in Starkweather's films previously. As hinted to in the game's promotional media for Variant Video Enterprises, Ramirez has made several appearances in these films, and even starred in his own film called Let's Play Ramirez Says. After the grounds for assault level, the player will move on to the next scene called Strap for Cash, where Starkweather reveals that the War Dogs have Cash's family members held captive, and that it's up to Cash to save them. However, it is believed that Cash obviously isn't very close to his family, as they have been estranged for some time now, considering that Cash has been on death row for murder. It isn't mandatory that Cash save his family members to progress. It only affects the star ranking given at the end of the scene. In this scene, the war dogs have several family members tied and bound to crucifixes, and if Cash is spotted, they will execute a member of his family. In order to save them, Cash must take care of the patrolling war dog gang members, clearing the area for Cash to cut them free.
Damn, should have brought some chewing tobacco.
Moving on to the next location, Cash is dropped off by Starkweather's men in his next location. Cash finds himself in an abandoned shopping mall, where he will have to deal with the viciously armed Innocence gang. This is where the game introduces firearms into the equation. The Innocents are packing heat, and Starkweather encourages Cash to do the same, as Cash is instructed to search the abandoned mall looking for a camera and a videotape.
You, get out to the graveyard. You, I want you up there. And I want you to follow him over to the mall. Now fucking move!
How are we doing, Cash? Enjoying it so far? I thought you could do with a little R&R, so I've arranged a special screening. Just for you. It's work in progress, but I think you'll appreciate it. I've hidden a tape and a video camera in the mall. Find them. By the way, these guys are packing heat, so you might want to find a gun for yourself.
Although guns such as revolvers and tranquilizer rifles were introduced by the War Dog gang during the previous scene, Cash did not find himself in many firefights to this point in the game. And the Innocents, however, are posted up throughout the mall, and Cash will have to shoot his way through many areas in the mall. This is primarily where the game introduces its third-person firearms combat mechanics, which is pretty basic and similar to the early 2000s Grand Theft Auto series, very clunky firing mechanics. During this scene specifically, the game throws a curveball at the player, because to this point, the game has forced the player to use stealth kills primarily to clear out enemies. But in this level, Cash will find that executing hunters with stealth becomes more scarce, as most of the action here is shooting based. After Cash has fetched the camera and the videotape, Starkweather leads Cash to the bar within the mall and asks Cash to turn on the power in the basement in order to see the videotape that he has prepared for him. Upon viewing the tape, Starkweather reveals that even the family members that Cash was able to rescue in the previous scene were still captured and killed anyway by the Innocents at Starkweather's command. And for the first time to this point in the game, we see Cash display some emotion as he seems angry and throws the TV across the room.
You must understand, Cash. I could never let them go. Where were your family when you were facing your final moments in the chamber anyway? You've left your old life, your old self behind. I'm all the family you need now. But a little surprise.
After this, Cash finds himself outside the mall as the game moves on to the next scene, entitled Drunk Driving, where Starkweather forces Cash to find and escort a drunk hobo tramp through the next area, which will act as an escort mission of sorts. Well, Cash will have to keep the tramp safe in order to progress forward, which means Cash will have to hide the tramp in a safe area, clear out hunters, then go back and get him off and on throughout in order to continue progression.
I'll only open any gates if he's with you, alive and well. Now, get going. Entertain me.
It's never explained or hinted to as to who exactly the tramp really is, other than the obvious fact that he's a drunken hobo who was locked up by the Innocents for whatever reason. But in the game's unlockables, there is an insert in the art gallery about a previous star of Starkweather's films known as the Scarecrow, Kenneth Jasperson, who was the leader of the Smileys gang, who had fallen out with Starkweather and become a tramp. So this could be him, although it's never fully explained at all.
Honestly, Cash, by killing these guys, you're doing them a favor. Heads up, Cash. You better rescue your new friend. Hobo buddy. Time for a little overtime. Make your way through the factory. The loading bay's your only way in.
After the tramp escort mission, Cash is then asked to work his way through the factory, where the rest of the Innocence gang members are posted up waiting for him. Cash will work his way through, blasting and killing off the rest of the gang, as this is the last level that the Innocents appear in Manhunt.
That's my leading man, attaboy. See you with some beers outside.
Then, just like before, as Cash exits the factory, he is once again ambushed by Starkweather's security team and transported to another location.
What the fuck?
Get to bed. Now. You heard the man.
Darkwoods Penitentiary, which hosts more than 1,000 inmates from all over the country. The prison's modern facilities include spacious cells for the inmates. The exceptionally well-staffed hospital is equipped for emergencies, as well as routine health checks. Adjacent to row 1, the electric chair room, is where death sentences are carried out.
Right here. Drop him.
Taking over the asylum, Cash. The only way to reason with these gibbering idiots is with a stick and a gun. I want you to kill the hunter patrolling the tower walkway and bring his body to the guard room. There's a hunter in the next room through the mesh door. Hack him up and I'll buzz open the next set of doors for you.
Cash finds himself back in the Darkwood Penitentiary, where he was supposed to be executed for his murder. However, after his execution was faked, the area was taken over by the Smileys, a gang of mentally disturbed, gibbering, loudmouth psychopaths who don't lack of things to say. As they hunt Cash, they speak nonsense out of their head, and the Smileys are a very dangerous group of hunters, as they usually patrol the area in groups.
Scarce tonight.
Starkweather demands that Cash take out the hunter on the guard tower and bring his corpse to the guard room in order to progress to the next scene.
There's a good boy. Now, drop all your weapons and move on. Monkey see, monkey kill. That's your motivations for the next scenes. You're killing to entertain, so take your time and play to the camera.
Cash then drops through a hole in the floor into another area of the penitentiary. This scene is titled Doing Time. In this level, Starkweather asks Cash to perform various executions with different specific weapons in order to progress.
Walkway and head into the shower block.
Head is so tight. Fuck, can't think straight.
Okay, Cash, you performed brilliantly. Don't worry, I've got plenty more Wonderland fun lined up for you. You're my big, ugly Alice, so go on, follow the White Rabbit.
Moving on to this next scene titled Kill the Rabbit, Starkweather asks Cash to chase a man in a white rabbit suit through the remainder of the penitentiary. This is where Starkweather originally planned to end his film and have Cash murdered in the final scene. However, Cash blasts his way through, killing off the Smileys, and corners the white rabbit, which was not Starkweather's plan. Cash kills the rabbit. Starkweather then sends in his men to kill Cash before he can escape, but Cash takes them out and exits the facility.
Hey, you ain't dead! He ain't dead! Oh shit! I've got the...
This psycho's all over me. Move your asses. He's holed up like a snake. Come on, guys. I can't do this alone. Lunatic, break.
Cash slip his leash. Bring him to heel. Failure isn't an option. Now go.
Where do you think you're going, man? Huh? Huh? What the fuck? You think you're tough? Think you're tough? I'll rip your fucking head off! Don't you wanna play anymore? You like hide and seek? You like hide and fucking seek? Well, we're coming for you, asshole.
What's the matter, little boy?
Ready or not?
It's our turn now.
Run! Run!
After Cash escaped, Starkweather orders Ramirez and his war dogs to ambush Cash and keep him from getting away. Starkweather never planned for Cash to survive to begin with. Cash is now in another scene called Divided They Fall, where Ramirez and his men are stalking Cash to finish him off. Towards the end of the level, after Cash successfully takes out most of Ramirez's men, Cash finds himself chasing Ramirez himself in order to take him out once and for all.
What is this? A frickin' health club.
Real dead man in my side. You want your mommy?
After killing Ramirez, Cash leaves the area, once again trying to escape Starkweather's snuff ring. Outside the area, Cash is cut off by a car driven by the reporter from the intro of the game. She claims to know what's going on and needs to get back to her apartment in order to claim all the evidence she has gathered in order to expose Starkweather's snuff ring. At this point, Cash is flying solo. He is no longer taking orders from Starkweather, and communication with the director is cut off for the remainder of the game.
Who's Starkweather?
The guy that's been talking you through this whole circus of death? Look, I've got all I need to expose that sick bastard, but he's definitely on to me now. So I have to get back to my apartment, collect my material, and get out of town before I become another one of Starkweather's extras.
You can bring him down? This Starkweather?
Absolutely. This is gonna make my career.
Okay, let's go.
Huh?
To your apartment. Drive!
Oh, shut up and get some of your boys to take care of it. Don't file the arrest report. Don't kill him either. Send both to me.
Hey, remember who you're talking to, you son of a...
Listen, you fuck, it's your job to clean up the city's mess. That's what you get paid for.
Shit.
Okay, pull over here.
But it's another block or two to my apartment.
Just shut up and stick with me if you want to stay alive.
Starkweather then turns to the local crooked police chief, Gary Schaefer, who he originally paid off in order to have Cash's execution faked to help track down Cash and the reporter. Fearing that they will expose him and this snuff ring, Starkweather demands that they find them both and bring them to him.
Everything I need is in that box under the table.
Good. Take it and get out of town.
But you're not coming with me?
I'm going to deal with Starkweather personally. Thank him for my second chance. You're my backup if I don't make it. Have a nice life.
After Cash escorts the reporter to her apartment, he then sets his sights on Starkweather. After finally having some insight on who Starkweather is and what exactly he's been participating in, Cash sets out to confront Starkweather personally. However, Cash is still being pursued by Carcer City police via Starkweather's demands. Cash will have to deal with the Carcer City PD for the next 3 levels, titled Press Coverage, Wrong Side of the Tracks, and Train to Kill.
This is Charlie Leader. Power has been shut off. Repeat, power is off.
Soon, another cutscene will show the humanoid creature known as Pigsy breaking free from his captive chains inside of Starkweather's attic. Now Pigsy is also on the loose. Cash will then have to work his way through the streets of Carcer City and through the subway before emerging and exiting through a train yard, where he is seemingly finally caught and surrounded by Carcer City PD SWAT team. However, as Cash walks into the ambush, the SWAT team is soon shot down viciously by Starkweather's Cerberus team, and Cash is then captured and taken into Starkweather's estate.
CCPD! Hold it right there!
Fucking A, we got him! Woohoo! Put your fucking hands up! Shoot that cop killer son of a bitch!
But Mr. Starkweather refuses to comment on these allegations. At this point, it is unclear as to whether or not he will ever be allowed to direct again. This is...
You know what? I don't give a fuck what Starkweather wants. Maybe today I kill you, maybe not. Kill the camera.
Big
What was that? Go check it out. Maybe it is your day. Shit! What the fuck is that? Support! Repeat! Send it! Oh shit!
Now that Cash is inside of Starkweather's estate, as he arrives with the Cerberus team, soon after the team hears a commotion outside and the roar of a chainsaw, as Pigsy is now free and on the loose, slaughtering Starkweather's security team inside and outside the estate. Cash will have to kill and blast his way into Starkweather's mansion. Starkweather's team, now with their backs against the wall, as Cash and Pigsy, Starkweather's 2-star killing machines, are both on the premises and are working their way towards Starkweather himself.
Starkweather, give me the key. Yes, sir. I want you to go down to the basement and turn off the motor. We can't be safe with these 2 bastards running around. We're on it, sir.
Once inside the mansion, Cash will have to track down the Cerberus team leader in order to obtain the key to the elevator that leads up to Starkweather's office.
We're more secure. I want that asshole's head on a spike, Sergeant. It will be a pleasure, sir. Escort him upstairs.
Once Cash reaches the elevator, it seems Pigsy is on his heels, and Pigsy attempts to ambush the elevator as Cash enters. Cash then escapes the elevator and finds himself in the attic. After Cash reaches the attic, he finds himself face to face with Pigsy, trapped in the attic. Cash will have to defeat Pigsy in order to continue towards Starkweather. Cash and Pigsy will hunt one another through the attic's corridors until one of them is dead. Now remember, Pigsy is a psychotic murderer who has lost all touch with reality. He simply sees Cash as another meat slab to cut through, and nothing more. After Pigsy is weakened, he will run away. Cash pursues him up towards Starkweather's office, where Pigsy will fall through a mesh floor that cannot support his weight. As a last-ditch effort, Starkweather will send the last of his Cerberus team to kill Cash, but however, Cash will slaughter them after obtaining Pigsy's chainsaw. Cash will finally get into Starkweather's office and is face to face with Starkweather. Upon cutting Starkweather's guts out, Cash finally has put a stop to all of this, and he is finally free. After this, the game is complete. Manhunt is a twisted and sick game, but I love this uniquely gruesome dark masterpiece that Rockstar Games gave us back in 2003. This has been Manhunt, a retrospective.
Movie maker Lionel Starkweather has been found dead today, along with several of his bodyguards, at his estate at the Wapona Hills residential district. In what investigators are calling a bloody vendetta, an unknown assailant infiltrated the compound, killing Starkweather, but more interestingly, leading police to the site of a snuff film ring being run from the estate's confines. Linked to this ring is Carcer City's own police chief, Gary Schaefer, whose lawyer stated that he intends to plead not guilty.